All right, folks, this is the Buckeye Blitz. I'm Tito Thitoff. Thank you so much for tuning in. Go to fanstreamsports.com, our latest and greatest version of our website, and you can get a lot of great content there as well. And now I'm pleased to be joined by Colton Bartholomew. He is with the Wisconsin State Journal, beat writer for the Wisconsin Badgers. Ohio State plays, obviously, this weekend in Madison. And first, Colton, can you summarize for me how the fan base probably feels about the Luke Fickell era?
Yeah, poorly. Yeah, this is not going well. It is probably the most negative I've ever seen for any sport, really, at Wisconsin this season. It's not just that the Badgers are losing, because I think a lot of fans, when they saw that schedule come out, like especially this October stretch, I think a lot of realistic fans understood it was not going to be a pretty year from the wins and losses perspective. But the fact of how they're losing is what is just turning so many fans off. And we actually just posted a story on our site this morning about how it's one of the lowest turnouts in terms of home games already. There's a few more left, obviously, with Ohio State coming up this weekend, but one of the lowest turnouts in terms of fans coming through the gates at Camp Randall in years and years, like 30 years or so. So, yeah, it's not going well. And like I said before, it's more about how they're losing, getting blown out, not looking competitive. And I never want to say the word I never want to say the word quit, because I think that's really insulting to athletes. I don't think athletes quit all that often, but it just doesn't look like they have a whole lot of fight or a whole lot of belief that they're going to win games. And it's just something that when you're Wisconsin, and I don't think anybody has championship expectations outside of maybe the locker room for the Badgers going into this season, but the fact that it's just not even fun really to watch this team for a fan, I don't blame anybody for being upset and kind of just tuning out.
So Fickell, obviously a former Buckeye, and I don't think he forgot how to coach. Like, I think he can still coach. But I think what was really the tough part for the thing that may have set him back was trying to change the way Wisconsin does things, bringing in that kind of more of an air raid offense, bringing in Tanner O'Rourke, and then it was Mordecai they brought him from SMU, brought North Carolina's offense coordinator over, tried to open things up, which was against Wisconsin football's history. It reminded me of when Rich Rod went to Michigan and tried to switch up with like the spread offense and how it didn't work out. Is that kind of what happened here?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there might have been an assumption on Fickell's part that there would have been a little bit more flexibility on Phil Longo, the coordinator that you mentioned, ideas of how you can run that system, but incorporating what Wisconsin was known for and has been good at for so long, which is along the offensive line. And, yeah, that set a lot of things back. I think you look at offensive line development was really shot for a year there. And then just the trying to go from one end of the spectrum, what Wisconsin was, all the way to the other with the air raid, and now kind of finding closer to what it used to be, but still some more modern pass stuff. I think the biggest thing is the entirety of the Luke Fickell era, there has not been an identity on this team, even when they had their starting quarterback healthy, which has been exceedingly rare, which is just an unfortunate circumstance when you're trying to make that transition. But there just hasn't been a consistent thing that the offense can hang their hat on. And Luke Fickell is a guy that defensive history, historically, just knows how to coach defense. And you looked at his Cincinnati teams, had guys like Mike Denbrock and Gino Guidugli that could handle the offense, and he gave them a lot of autonomy. And I think same thing happened here with Longo, and it really kind of blew up in his face. And I think had they been healthy this year, the offense would be much better suited for what this team has talent-wise. It's just we haven't seen it. Billy Edwards, the quarterback, hasn't been out there. The offensive line's been in shambles. So, yeah, it's hard to say that with any great confidence, but I think healthy, this will at least be a competitive team. Maybe if not
the quarterback injuries have certainly hit them hard in Fickell's entire tenure there. And I wonder, so like when I look at Barry Alvarez, I look at him the same way I think that Ohio State fans look at Woody Hayes and Michigan fans might look at Bo Schembechler. Like Barry Alvarez is that in Wisconsin. If he came out and gave a vote of confidence, I know he's no longer associated like officially with the university, but if he came out and said, you know what, guys, let's give Fickell more time, give him a break. I think if he came out and said something like that, do you think that would help the cause?
Yeah, it's been interesting because Barry's he's got a weekly radio show now here in the Madison market. And after the Maryland game where a lot of fans were booing and the Fire Fickell chant started, he called fans spoiled. And he told them that, if you're not cheering, you might as well leave. And then this week, he really came out against basically how the team looked and the fact that they don't have an identity after the Iowa loss. So if he were to come out at this point and give Fickle a vote of confidence, which I think he did early on. I don't know how much it would have an effect, in all honesty. I think it really would just have to come down to the second half of the season here, this team showing some more fight. I'm not sure. I don't know if any fan is going to be happy without a change, but at the same time, like that just fans wanting it does not mean it's going to happen. I'm sure we can get into that a little bit more, but I think fans want to change just because they want to see something different and they think they need a fresh start. But I don't know if it's a guarantee it's going to happen.
It to me, it feels, it's interesting to me that the fact that there's the buyout part of this now has to figure into this, because, some schools don't have as much money as others. That's the way it is. And if you're going to pay Fick $25 million to walk away, you've got to find that $25 million somewhere, and it's going to come out of something else that the $25 million would have gone towards, be it recruits, be it whatever it's going to, NIL, whatever it's going to be. Like, that money has to come from somewhere, though, as far as that. And I wonder, will that impede Wisconsin or not?
I think if you ask the administration today, it's a factor. Ask them again in 3-4 weeks if they can find somebody from the outside. I think, to your point, some schools don't have as much just cash reserve sitting around. Wisconsin Athletics has about $100+ million sitting in its UW Foundation, which is kind of a separate offshoot of the university. But the whole financial kind of plan of the athletic department is using that money as an interest generator for basically free cash when they need it. Not $27 million in cash like they would need for a buyout, but free cash for, operational costs and things of that nature. So pulling against that is something that they want to avoid. They did pull against it when they fired Paul Chryst a couple years ago, and then Paul Chryst negotiated a lesser buyout to not have the duty to mitigate. I think we're seeing that start to become more known nationally, like how that works with the James Franklin thing going on, whether he made that agreement or not. But I think when you're talking about Wisconsin right now with Fickle, it is a factor. It's just how long is it a factor? Is somebody from the outside going to come up with that money? There's just not that. I don't know if it's a Wisconsin thing, a Midwest thing. People don't like paying people not to work here. This isn't Texas. This isn't like Texas A&M was giddy to give Jimbo Fisher like $70 million or whatever it was to get out of town. There's just not that same kind of fervor, I think, to give somebody money to go away from the Wisconsin donor
Colton,
base.
I saw the thing where James Franklin's getting paid more not to coach Penn State than Paterno got paid his entire career to coach Penn State, which was interesting to me when I saw that stat. Colton Bartholomew joins us here from Wisconsin State Journal. And, okay, let's focus on the game a little bit here now. Ohio State's got an edge in most weeks, almost everywhere, I think. And I have a feeling Ohio State will try to attack through the air a little more, or a little earlier and a little more often. That's kind of Wisconsin's that's their downfall probably, right? Is pass defense?
Yeah, the thing for them is they have I think an okay to good starting secondary. They just have to play the entire game because they don't have a whole lot of depth. They came into the season with 6 scholarship corners, and 3 of them had never played before, between a redshirt freshman and 2 true freshmen. So you're just talking about guys either that are older and have played quite a bit, but they're playing 70, 80 snaps a game, or guys that have never played college football before, neither of which is a great matchup for guys like Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate. So not that a whole lot of people are. But I think the biggest thing is they get caught in a situation where they would like to blitz a little bit more, I think, because they've come into this season with an idea of using more zones, trusting the front four to get pressure. And that worked at times. You saw at Michigan, there were a few times where they were able to sit back with 7 and get a little bit of pressure. But I think against some of the better teams they're going to be playing now, they'd like to send some more extra rushers. But that means man coverage. That means singled up zone coverages. And that's where they're going to lose a lot. And they're playing safeties, or one safety at least, that is just not equipped, I think, at this point to play in those man coverages. So it's a really tough bind that Mike Tressel, defensive coordinator, finds himself in. I don't know what the solution there is. You can't just sit back in zone and against a team like Ohio State. You've got to try to make something happen. You go back to that game against, or the Wisconsin-Ohio State game a couple of years ago. Wisconsin did sit back in zone quite a bit, and they got a couple of turnovers, and that kept them in that game for a long time. But I think once the Buckeyes settled down and took advantage of the talent they had, especially individual matchups, that's when you saw the pull away in the second half. I'm going to guess that happens early. I don't think there's a situation where Ohio State comes out not ready to win this game early on. That's another problem throughout the whole Fickle era, not just this current football team. They roll over. It's just a fact of how they play. You get them down early. They have not come back outside of one memorable game at Illinois. There is not a team that overcomes early deficits.
And a lot of that's got to do with a quarterback plays a big part in that. I know the defense does too, because the defense gets stops. But the quarterback, though, if you don't have consistent, solid quarterback play because of injuries, you're further on your depth chart than you wanted to be. It's got to be harder to come back. When Wisconsin has the ball, first of all, I'll say it's about Ohio State's offense. Ohio State's offense, the running game has been mediocre so far. I think the offensive line for Ohio State's pretty good, but I know Wisconsin's got a decent defensive line as well. That's going to be an interesting match there and how that works. But when it comes to when Wisconsin has the ball, what's their best way, or their potentially best way, I guess, to attack Ohio State's defense?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to come up with some more effective screen game, because I think we've seen Jeff Grimes would like to get into some more screen action. But the idea that they're going to be able to sit back and get the ball down the field against Ohio State, the most talented defense they've played all year, when they haven't been able to against other defenses, I just can't see it. So I think they're going to have to try to get Ohio State to come up a little bit and try to load the box or try to send some extra pressure to create some negative plays and catch them in a screen. The way that the Wisconsin's blocking and the way that their quarterback situation has been so in flux this year, there just has been zero consistency of even really a plan of attack, because Luke Fickell's talked about this. They don't know who they're going to have on Saturday till like most of the time Thursday or Friday. And that's just some of the natures of the injuries they've had. They've been like, oh, we might be able to get player X back, and then, oh, we can add this to the game plan now. But then you're talking about 24 hours of notice, the rest of the team understanding, oh, we're going to run these plays now. And when you have that and you don't have a talent base to match it, where it's like, oh, we can overwhelm whatever scheme issues might have with some talent, it's just a bad combination. So going against this Ohio State defense that's got stars at every level, it's going to be tough sledding. There's just no two ways.
Colton, if they get the Ohio State and Oregon game before they have their bye week, if I'm not mistaken, and so if they lose both of those games, do you think they will make the move? Or if they go 1-1 and somehow win one of the two games, or even 2-0, I don't think it's going to happen. If they go 1-1 or better, though, do you think Fickell stays on for the end of the season?
If they win one of these two games, okay. Yeah, for sure. Because then that would be the signature win, and that would be the progress, that the ability to get off the map by this team that just has not been seen. Yeah, if they win one of these next two games, I think the discussion of Fickell getting fired ends there. I don't see that happening, and I don't know what the appetite is inside the administration at this point to fire Fickell. It depends more on, again, that money. Like I think the administration's thought process will go, is it possible money-wise for us to do this? Is it the right thing to do football-wise? And then when should we do it? And you mentioned the next two games. Then you have that bye week. Just logically, that seems like the best time if you're going to do it, to try to get a jump on the right. Next hire. And the way that the recruiting calendar starts now, like if you wait till the last Sunday of the season or right after the last game, you got 4 days to be able to sign the class. That's not the greatest plan in my opinion. So I think if it's going to happen in season, it's probably after this Oregon game. But like I sasaid, if they're able to pull off one of these miracle upsets, then I think that's kind of
maybe they look good. Maybe if they lose a close one in one of these two games, maybe that might buy him a little more time too. I'm not sure, but yeah, Fickell's beloved here in Columbus. Went to St. Francis de Sales, Columbus High School, and obviously had the career he had, and also spent time here as a coach as well. So when I talk to some of his former teammates, I'm like, what's this going to be like for you? Because, Ohio State, are you going to at some point want Ohio State to maybe let off the gas because it's Fickell, or do you want to see them just roll it up there and put up the stats? And it's kind of a weird thing for Ohio State fans with Fickell when they're playing them and when Ohio State's got a clear talent advantage.
Yeah, I would not be shocked if Ohio State comes out in the second half and we see some guys that haven't got their jerseys dirty too often, if they're able to get up early on. Because I don't even think it's a Fickell thing. I think it's Ohio State looking at this next month and a half for the Buckeyes is pretty easy. Like now that Penn State's fallen off, I know, like, it's funny. You look at the schedule, UCLA might be the toughest challenge, the way that they've been playing inspired football the last few weeks. So until you get to the Michigan game, obviously. But I think it's going to be more self-preservation as opposed to sparing anything for Luke Fickell.
I'll get you on this one, Colton. Colton Bartholomew with the Wisconsin State Journal joining us. Let's say they move on from Fickell. Do you think they make a play for James Franklin?
They have to call. At this point, I mean, the fact that he would be at a reduced price because of his buyout structure from what's been reported, the fact that this guy's only had one season below 9 wins in his entire Big Ten career, made Vanderbilt a winner for at least that short time that he was there in the SEC, which is arguably probably even more impressive than anything he did at Penn State. You have to call. Now, is he willing to take on the project that is Wisconsin at this point, which I think is probably more significant than a lot of people from the outside understand? Even Fickle coming in, I think that some of the things that needed to get caught up to speed might be closer now, but I don't think are quite there. So is he up for that project? I'm not sure. I think Franklin's going to have a host of jobs that are going to be available to him, and he might be a guy that wants to stick it out for a few more weeks to see what's open. But if you're Wisconsin, you've got to call him. You've got to call Nick Saban, pie in the sky. Throw anything at the wall you can, because what do you lose? They don't answer the phone or they say no. All right, move on to the next one, because you've got to get this right. You can't be bad at football in the modern Big Ten. If you're bad at football in the modern Big Ten and you're not crazy elite at basketball, Purdue, I'm using as an example, they're the top team in basketball right now. If you're not the top team in one of those two, you're in a really tough spot.
Colton, where can people find you on Twitter?
Yeah, CBartWSJ, and then BadgerExtra.com is our website for all Badger sports. We have the most people covering Badger sports in our market, so a lot of great stuff.
There you go. Thanks for the time, buddy. I appreciate it.